Welcome home, where we provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator here on America's Next. I have Dominique Russell here with me today. How you doing, Dominique?
I am good. Good morning.
Absolutely. Now, right off the top, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in today. People who are tuned in now and people who will tune in later. I want to say thank you. I know it's the holiday season, and this is a time for motivational messages. And so we're going to talk to Dominique Russell today about her journey. And right away, I am enthused and intrigued at your headdress. Can you explain that to us?
So I just randomly put it on one day. My oldest daughter, who is 12, she likes things like art, makeup, and jewelry. So we just randomly bought it. And she said, "Hey, Ma, I think it would look nice with your dreads." And I was like, "Sure."
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
We should all empower our children's creativity, their imagination. It really affirms them to see their parents take one of their creations and make it real for the rest of the world.
Definitely.
So I think that that's awesome, and I think that you're onto something. Now, do you do this every day?
No, actually, I don't. I normally don't dress up every morning. But you happen to catch me on a good morning. I got up and we were talking, and she has to go on Zoom also. So my oldest sometimes has a problem wanting to turn her camera on. She's a little bit more shy. So we came up with an agreement, like at least start off 10 minutes at a time for a class. And you can, comb your hair how you want it. You could put light lip gloss on. So we got up this morning and we both got this. We're going on camera. So
Right.
we got ready together.
How's it been for you during the pandemic, homeschooling and managing life? How's that been for you?
I really learned a lot about myself this year.
Mm-hmm.
I also learned I was not equipped to be a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I applaud all the teachers out there. And I also learned patience. I thought I had patience, but I definitely learned how to have some more.
Absolutely. I definitely see that from my own perspective, that teachers do an amazing job. They do a big job.
Yes.
And this period of time has raised awareness beyond the shadow of a doubt that they need to be ranked a little bit higher, if not a whole lot higher in our society. I mean, it's not like everybody else and then you settle for being a teacher. It's like you decided to be a teacher, and that is such an astronomical decision in terms of the impact you're going to have in the future. So I applaud all the teachers today, and I like the fact that you pointed that out. Now, where were you born?
I was born in the Bronx.
Okay.
Bronx, New York. However, my parents are of Jamaican descent.
Okay.
So my mom and dad were born in Jamaica.
All right. All right. What was it like for you growing up in the Bronx?
Different than it is now. I'm always making a reference, especially to my 12-year-old, that the Bronx is nothing like it was back when I was her age.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I don't know, for me it was different. We knew there were crimes and there were things happening, but we also had more sense of community. We were outside playing more. There were more jump ropes and bikes, and now everyone's walking across the street with their phone in their hands and texting, and they see their friends through their phones, but actually not interacting in person with people.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was like when I grown up in the Bronx gave me that, I want to collect the sense of hood, but I wasn't hood. It was just, we had real outside time.
Right. Now that is the opposite of what I thought you were going to say, which is why I always ask a question with no predisposition of what you're going to say. A lot of the time when I talk to people about the Bronx, especially the Bronx years ago, they always talk about how the Bronx was so much more of a dangerous place. But
yes, I'm glad you said that, because when I was in high school, I was a social activist in the South Bronx, working on things to change things in our community. And we would go on trips to like Texas or California and meet with all these other people that are social activists. And you tell them you're from the Bronx, and the first thing they're like, oh my God, how do you survive? Are you
Right.
okay? Do you
Right.
guys get robbed when you get off the train? And I'm just like, what does everyone else think of the Bronx that I'm not seeing?
Right. You know what everybody thinks of the Bronx? Um, the Furious Five.
Right, yes.
You know,
The burning of the South
Curtis
Bronx.
Blow.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what
Hmm.
everybody thinks of the Bronx.
Right, but they don't
Um,
think of the things like we closing down a juvenile detention center in Hunts Point, or getting them to train police officers when they're going into high schools to be around kids because they weren't trained for that. Those were things we were working on back in high school time, not thinking about how dangerous it is to be
mhm.
outside so much. We were kind of sense of community. Like I said, we were safe
You
and
know
help.
what? That's very important that you frame it that way, because I think that that's always been the case, and it always will be the case, that no matter what it looks like on the outside, on the inside,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of people actually taking care of each other, looking out for one another,
Yes.
serving each other. It might not look like that on the outside, but that's always what's happening to an extent. And we have
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that we give credit to that. You
Yep.
know, go
That's
ahead.
a big part of what led me into like the field that I work in, because I saw how everyone perceived the Bronx, and that wasn't how the Bronx is. Just like how people tend to look at children in care, or anyone, a homeless person, just people that need service. Just because they look one way or this is the title that they have, that doesn't mean that's the type of person that they are. That doesn't even define the character of person who they are. And I think I went into the field more so to help break that stereotype that people had of it.
Hmm. Well, before we even get that far along in your story, I think that we're already on to a really good point, which is that you got into social activism because you wanted to see more service to others,
Mm-hmm.
more taking care of each other, having fun. You wanted to see those sorts of things happen, and so you got active. How did you get active, and what age were you when you began to get active?
I got active in high school through my teachers.
Okay.
Um, I went to an alternative high school in the South Bronx, and I ended up having extra time on my hands because I tend to had finished my work fast. And they're like, you know what? We're starting this community thing where you can go and get credits while for school. And I was like, okay, sure. And they sent me to a place called Mothers on the Move.
Okay.
And they were a social activist group in the South Bronx that were working on things like housing, environmental. And so I was helping out, and I love their story. It started with females in the South Bronx. I was a female. They were all minorities, so I felt empowered. And then I asked them, well, what about things like, that has to do with younger people? Because at that time they were only dealing with mothers. I was like,
Mhm.
well, what about us kids? We got issues too that, we could fix. And I think from that point, Wanda Solomon sat me down and James, and they said, well, tell us what it is that you want to fix, or how do you want to see it fixed? And we branched off from there. We started something called Youth on the Move, and we started coalitions with other agencies, and we got work done. And I just continued on from there.
You know, when you started Youth on the Move, what is it? What is it that you all collected to do, and how were you all traveling to different places? How did it work? How did it happen?
Whew. I'm glad you asked that. It was definitely a struggling journey at first, but what we did was we started it with, we got funding, and then we started recruiting. So it started with me and literally two other females. We were all high school friends, and then we recruited other high schools to say, hey, could we teach a community activist workshop? We'll do it for free. It could be after school, voluntary. They can sign up. We got a teacher to sign on with us. And from those little workshops in the schools in the South Bronx, we build from there.
Wow.
And had a whole we had a whole group of maybe 20 or more starting from there. And then we joined other coalitions, and we were able to travel and give other people experience that they wouldn't have had, and give them the empowerment on how, things they wouldn't have had. We even did things like voter registration. When we weren't old enough to vote, we had the younger ones going out there and letting them know, register to vote. You're eligible to vote.
Right. It's these types of grassroots movements. When I say
Mhm.
grassroots, I mean somebody who is living in the community decides to start something and it grows. That's what I mean by grassroots. When you do stuff like that, it makes the world spin and it makes the community feel better for young people growing up who might not even know what you're doing when they see you and your group moving around. They don't know what they're looking at, but it's making their community a better place.
Right.
Now, do you have any tips for young people today, high schoolers or young adults who are looking to start a movement and need some advice?
Do it. Don't think that you can't. Whatever you think is holding you back from doing it, it's not. There is an answer to it. Because that's how I felt that first. Funding, location, recruitment. There's an answer to it all if you want it done. So just do it.
Well, how did you get funding?
We had to write proposals and to grant funders. So we wrote to like people like the Gates Foundation. We wrote to a whole bunch of different organizations that were at the time looking to do funding for something with youths or within the community. So we happened to just like at that right time got our proposals together, which we had to learn to do because we knew nothing about that at the time as kids.
Right. That's right. It was a big learning experience for the whole team. Okay. So now, did you do that throughout high school? And what did you do around like your senior year? What was going on with you? Were you involved in social organizations, sports? You're laughing. I know you was kicking it.
Okay. Senior year for me was the best. I happened to finish school a half a year early.
Okay.
So they gave me the option of leaving in January or just kind of chilling out till June. So I'm like if you chilled out, you had to do stuff. So I kind of just chilled out. I was manager of the basketball team, so I did the books and kept everyone's stats for them. I was involved in Youth on the Move. I was involved in we had like a garden outside of our school. Like almost anything that was available to do, I would do it or just hang out after school. I was one of those people that you could find in school way after school was over.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, is this the time when you started realizing like, hey, I'm gonna continue this work. I'm gonna be somebody who does work for my community from here on out. Is that where that seed was planted?
No, I was gonna be a lawyer, and no one could tell me anything different at that time.
Wow.
Okay. I was advocate about being a lawyer. I was like, no one can argue better than I can argue. I'm going to make the changes. And then I realized that was not how it was going to get done for me.
Wow. What was it that...
So I changed like that thought.
What was it though that made you aware that I want to do the same thing just in a different type of way? How'd you figure that out?
So, and I guess I'm still figuring it out because I want to say it's like a catch-22 because I was like, lawyers, I realized they lie and they are not always there to get the best outcome. And yes, you don't have to be that type of lawyer, but I at that time, what I saw was like starting off, you're going to end up having to do the things you didn't want to do or defend. So I was like, another way to get things done even better, where maybe I don't always have to worry about the legal part of it, being like a lawyer and having to defend people I didn't want to or work on something I didn't want to, was doing it myself and getting the team to work towards that action and fixing it. And then I realized it's better to be on the end where you're fixing it and have the lawyers help you and you telling them what it is that you want than to be the one saying, hey, you may want this metal detector out, but what if I give you a wand instead and a pat down? They were like, I didn't want to go that route. I wanted to be like, this is what we want and this is what we're going to get.
Right.
This is gonna change.
What I really like about what you're saying is this. In the world, we have to realize the power of language. And even though people say that talk is cheap, talk is really not cheap. And nobody can attest to that more than a lawyer, because it's always what you say and how you say it that makes the difference between what you think happened and what really happened. And so when you realize the strategy of language that goes into being a lawyer and an attorney, you realize how it's not all about what you thought happened. It's about the general consensus of what these words mean. And and you might say, I didn't break the law, but a lawyer might interpret the circumstances based with the same words in a way that it makes it plain and clear that you did break the law, or vice versa. Sometimes you think something happened, but when it gets applied in a court of law, in the legal term, the legal terms come at large, then you realize that there's a whole nother scenario happening. But in the midst of all of that, some people might call playing a semantic game. Somebody like Dominique Russell says, hey, I could have never even set foot in a courtroom and just solved that problem right there where I was. And so that says to me that you are a natural born activist. You're somebody who wants to change things in the moment by proposing another route of action. So I think that's great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Now, what were your conversations like? What were your conversations like with your parents growing up?
To be honest with you, my mother and I didn't really have conversations like that. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't want to stereotype Caribbean households, but for my mother, it was like, as long as you're doing good in school, you can have X, Y, and Z that you asked me for. Make sure you're here on time and the house is clean and you're doing what you got to do. As far as like, mommy, this is what I want to do. This is how I feel. We didn't really have conversations like that. It wasn't until I got to be an adult that me and my mother started having like conversations. But I also learned with that. But I had other adults then that I spoke to.
Now, by your mother not having conversations with you regularly, did it provide a notion that my daughter knows what to do and she knows how to do it? Or that maybe my daughter knows my expectations, almost like a mental telepathy going on? Is that what it was about?
So now I can say yes, because as an adult, I realized my mother's way of showing me things and communicating to me was there. I didn't know how to accept it that way because I was looking for something different. I was looking for the, hey, hi, I love you. What are you doing? Let's talk. Now as an adult, I realized she gave those to me, but it was in a different way. And that's okay.
Right. It's okay now that you understand. But at the time, you might have been looking for more conversations.
Definitely. And I think that's what pushed even more so my drive to want to change things and do things. I think everyone at some point of their life want to impress their parents. They want to have something for their parents to say, hey, or get their attention with something. Activism was at first that, but then it became me. It was what I was doing. I was like, this was my way of expressing myself, whether or not she was going to see it or not, which she didn't appreciate it, but that was me talking and voicing myself out.
Wow. And see, and this is what I'm saying about the dynamics. It's like if your mother is not constantly talking to you about what she wants to see you do, then you will, because you want to make your mother proud, you'll go out and do something great and show her with your actions that you are the manifestation of her intentions.
Yes.
And so I just want to point out that there's some type of spirituality in that. You know, and I think that other families might be able to identify with that as well. That no, we don't say I love you 15 times a day. We don't hug and kiss all day.
Right.
We don't even talk that much. But my child is going to show me with her actions that she loves me and she understands my expectation of her. And somebody would say that your child is doing all of this on their own, but no, your child feels. Your child feel
definitely
your aspiration. Your child can feel your expectations, and we need to raise awareness about our ability to communicate through space without
Yes.
words.
I am a very big person of that because I am not one to say I can't remember my mom telling me she loves me, but I know she does. And I'm big on telling even younger people this now because it took me again, like I said, as an adult to realize this about my mom. And I loved her all the time and all the way through. But as an adult, understanding now her way of showing me love, I was like, wow, she is me. Like she's the person I am today because of, even though she didn't say I love you, she showed it to me and I knew it was there. So I'm a big person on knowing how to like read the space and knowing that although they may not be able to say it in words, there are other things they do and show for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ani King Riley says, what was your relationship like with your father?
So I know him. I know my father. He knows me, but we never had a real relationship. I don't want to call him a typical Caribbean deadbeat, but yeah, that's kind of where he was. It's almost like we never spoke about anything unless he was asking me about my mom, who had nothing to do with him anymore.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel
But I
like,
do have relationships with my sisters, some of them on
okay,
my father's side.
okay. Do you feel like your lack of a relationship with your father affected your ability to read space with young men or even young women? Did it impact your ability to be emotionally intelligent?
It definitely impact my ability somewhat. I definitely feel like if I had my father there active in my life, things would be a little different. However, I was not lacking male figures in my life to provide me with emotional support and things because I have had excellent uncles and an excellent stepfather. So um I there would have been a difference for sure because that is my father, but I wasn't lacking anything either.
You know what? Shout out to all the uncles out there. You know,
Yes,
um,
definitely.
in fact, if you'd like to shout out a few of your uncles, I'll allow you to do that because
I
some of these
definitely
uncles
have
need
to.
respect
Yes.
out here. Go ahead.
Yes. So shout out to my Uncle Rossi, Uncle Patrick, RIP. He just passed away a few years ago, but he was definitely like my father figure, my godfather. He was my everything. My Uncle Rohan, who's always he's the one that taught me to cook and how to be handy with things. My Uncle Lukey, my Uncle Noel, all of them, but especially my Uncle Rohan and my Uncle Patrick.
Yeah. You know, are there any more? There's always one more that is going to be watching this. He's going to be the one person watching this. You didn't even think about him.
Nope. I named all. I know. I named all my uncles, but I would say my older cousins, like my older cousin. Oh no, my uncle.
Hold up. Wait till she come back.
How could I forget him? He would
Hold up.
definitely was my Sunday McDonald's come through.
Hold up. Hello? You still with us?
Yes,
Okay, what was that last uncle's name?
gotcha. I'm here.
Yeah, what was that last uncle?
That one Uncle Ronnie. I cannot forget Uncle Ronnie. Shout out for Uncle Ronnie, who always came through with McDonald's.
Right. I told
He was
y'all it was
always
one
there
more
for me.
uncle.
Oh,
I
yep,
told
there
y'all,
was.
man. Now, it's the uncle who steps in and makes sure that you feel love from a man's perspective. And what they do is so important. So shout out to the uncles out there, each and every uncle who impacts the lives of children, communities, families. You know, uncles are a big deal, you know, and I don't know that we bring uncles up enough when we
No.
have a conversation about men in our lives. So, you know, that was great that you were able to shout them out. Ani says, wow, you are blessed to have aunties and uncles in your life. Yeah, that's right.
Yes, my grandma had 12 children, so my family is big.
Wow. And then also too, it goes without saying that by you being from Jamaica, you've eaten some great foods out there. What are some of the foods that you really like that the rest of us could stand to learn about? What's your top 5 Jamaican foods? Let's go.
Top 5 stew peas and rice.
Okay. Hold on. Stewed peas and rice.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go.
Rasta pasta.
Hold on, let me write these out. Hold on, stew, peas, and rice. Now, for those people who are trying to understand what this dish entails, what's so special about stewed peas and rice?
Everything, the peas, the oxtails, the salt beef. Oh, it's just amazing.
Also has meat in it.
Yes, it's meat and beans and little dumplings.
Oh, okay. All right. You said Rasta pasta. What's that?
So it's almost like a jerk Alfredo.
Okay.
So it's your choice of meat because you can do chicken or shrimp. Some people do oxtails, and it's pasta with Alfredo sauce and jerk sauce.
All right. What's your third? We're doing five.
My third one, cornmeal porridge.
Okay. Cornmeal porridge. All right.
Yes.
Now, what's it about cornmeal porridge that you like so much?
I don't know what grandma does, but whatever grandma does to it, I love cornmeal porridge. I don't even like oatmeal, but I like cornmeal porridge.
What's going on with you? Oatmeal porridge is the best one.
No.
Yeah, you came on a platform speaking differently today. What would be your fourth choice?
Curry chicken.
Curry chicken.
Yes.
Nice. Now, for those people who might not know, what is curry? What's that mean?
It's the seasoning that they put on it.
Okay.
So
now, don't forget about banana porridge too. Yeah, you forgot to mention it.
But that's not my favorite. I love cornmeal porridge. Literally, that's the only one I would drink.
Okay. Now, what's your fifth one?
Now that's hard. My fifth. Does it have to be food or can it be a dessert?
It can be dessert.
Rum cake.
Rum cake.
Yes.
All right.
Or as Caribbean like to call it, black cake.
Okay, black cake. Nice. Ladies and gentlemen, we are getting culture. We are getting insight to the journey of a woman who has done a lot of different things. She empowers people. She is open to new relationships, and she is a community builder. We're talking about Dominique Russell, and we'll be right back after this brief message. America's Next Motivator, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator, hosted by me, Cedric Riley, and sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network. And we're back. Dominique, how you feeling out there?
I'm good.
Okay. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, real quick, I need your comments, your questions, and all those things to drop into the chat. Good morning, Uncle. This is my uncle right here. Shout out to my Uncle Orlando. All the uncles play a very vital role in our lives. Yeah,
yes, shout out to the unks.
Yeah. Now listen. We are building a community here, whether you're in TV land, Facebook, YouTube, or wherever you're watching this show, respectfully. When I come on this screen, if I'm sitting here with my face looking like a light bulb, I need you to drop that in the comments so I can know. All right? I need to know if I'm looking like a light bulb on camera. Like, drop it in the comments. All right. Now, Dominique, I got to talk to my supporters sometimes because sometimes they'll they'll hit me up after instead of during the show. It's like, hey, Cedric, your face looked like a headlight the whole entire show, but great show though. Now, what did you do after high school? What was next for you? Hello?
Yeah,
Dominique?
sorry.
It's okay.
Lost you for a second. I'm back.
It's okay. What did you do after high school? What was next for you?
So after high school, I'm gonna give you the truth because I'm living in my 2020s. I live in my truth.
That's
After
right.
high school, I went right off to college. I went away because for me it was like, yes, you get away. I get to live away from my parents. I'm free. Yeah, no. By December, I was calling my mom like, come get me. I'm not cut out for this. Please let me come back home. So I came back home and went to St. John's for about a year and a half, where at that time it wasn't for me. I was going for law, and I was like, that's when I realized like this is not it. Like I don't want to do law. I don't even want to do school right now. I think I want to work.
Right.
And I was, because I was very active in the changes, and at that time big things were happening for us. We were getting the juvenile detention center closed in Hunts Point. That was like a big win for us. I was traveling the States, so I was like, ooh, cool, I get to travel. So at that time, I was like, I stopped going to school. My mom's thing was, if you're not in school, you better be working.
Mm-hmm.
So I always definitely made sure I maintained a job, even if it had to be 2 or 3, but I did while still doing my social activist work.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you say that you got this facility closed, can you talk about that? What was it like? What was going on that made you all feel like it needed to be closed, and what did you do?
So, one, it was a huge juvenile detention center in Hunts Point that wasn't even fully housing anybody, where the space could have been used for something better. And a lot of the youths that were going there for very minor things that they don't deserve to be put away for. The conditions in there at the time were bad. This was a place that we felt needed to shut down and become something more useful. So we wrote to the local community people. We actually looked it up to see how much it actually cost to stay open versus if it was to close and turn into something else. And we presented this to like the Bronx president and the city people and even corrections. And from there, it got attention and they closed it. And it was the old Spofford in the Bronx. That's in the Hunts Point on Barretto, I believe it's on. It became like a culinary school at one point after it got shut down for children.
Now, you decided that your life was going to continue up and forward, even though you withdrew from your classes. And I think that that's something that a lot of people can take from today. Everybody who goes to school don't complete it right away in 4 years.
Right.
But it's not that your life stops, and you were determined that your life was going to keep going and that you were going to keep doing powerful work that impacted others while you transition into prosperity in your life.
Yes.
Now, this place you're talking about, Spofford, is actually a world famous center. You hear it in people's raps.
Mm-hmm.
You hear it discussed in movies. People talk about this place as a reputation for violent acts and just being like almost like a criminal syndicate, if you will, behind bars in a full of young adults. These weren't 30, 40-year-old men. These were young people who were able to live out in some instances a life of crime behind bars.
Yeah.
And while we're on this, I want you to talk to us a little bit about the reality of youth who are in the detention center and how it could be a toxic environment. Go ahead.
Well, definitely it's toxic because it's like the cradle to prison pipeline. It's like they are. So let's start from the ones that were in there when they were younger and they learned all these horrible things in there and they're committing all these other crimes. And then they're now released out into the community with nothing but just, hey, you're on your own. They don't know any better. Then they end up having children too, or they end up going into another system because that system failed them to begin with. Because they went in there because they supposedly did something wrong. And instead of learning to do, I guess, what society would have felt was right, or to learn something better, they were just in there caged in, being held until release date, and then they're released. Then what?
Mm-hmm.
So it served no purpose.
So what you're saying is that young people, many of whom might not have had a balanced childhood or a balanced home life, made mistakes. When they made those mistakes, and accountability will be served. It has been and it will be. Right is right, wrong is wrong. Many of those young people were wrong. However, they were placed in a location where they were not completely corrected or taught how to live a new life. They went to an establishment where they learned a whole lot more things that would be considered criminal acts in the community. For instance, you might go into a juvenile detention center because you were fighting. Everybody kept telling you to stop fighting, but you kept on fighting. So now you get sent to a place like this juvenile detention center, and let's say you're there for 6 months. When you leave, you know how to scam credit cards. You know how to steal cars. You know how to steal cars now. You know how to get away with this, and you know how to get away with that. And so you saw that going on, and you said it needs to stop.
Yes, definitely.
What I want to raise awareness about today is this. When people talk about put the variable here, to prison pipeline, the X to prison pipeline, what we're talking about is a series of occasions where instead of you learning things that are better, that are going to make your life better, that are going to make you a better person, you have an empty space, which is an opportunity for you to learn things that are going to make your life worse and worse and worse. Not to mention the fights that you're going to get into because other people don't know how to co-regulate their emotions. The things that you'll end up doing to protect yourself that will result in you being in that juvenile detention center longer and longer and longer. And before you know it, you're no longer suitable for juvenile detention. You're now
juvenile.
You're suitable for
adult
jail. Before you know it, now you're actually suitable to be sent to prison. And when some of these 30-year-olds who are in jail or prison right now, when they look back on their life, they got sent to a place like Spofford at 14 years old because they kept fighting. The things that they learned and the ways that they had to defend themselves resulted in them doing nothing other than crime. So now they're 30 years old. They look back. They've been in jail ever since they were a kid. Never got an opportunity to learn how to be a better person and be a productive member of society. Now, a system like that, in addition to 440,000 youth in a foster care system, many of whom are not living a life like that, it just speaks toward an emergency. We have an emergency in our country when it comes to youth. People who are under 20 years old. People who are under 20 years old, the youth. We have an emergency when it comes to them. Now, Dominique, what would you like to see happen in an ideal world when it comes to our youth? What would you like to see happen?
That everybody has a family. However your family look, but everyone has that family that they are attached to.
Wow.
And that they are bonded with. Yes. Because I think people forget the idea of what family is. And they're like, well, if it's not a mom, dad, brother. No, your teacher could be your family. That teacher could be like a mom to you, or an image of a mom. That worker, that anyone. Everyone needs to have a connection with someone. So that adult, that family connection, in the ideal world, everyone will have it.
I want you to talk to us about what family is from your perspective.
Family, in my perspective, is the people that you can count on when you are dying. If you know, like that's like the hardcore part of it. Like, if I know that this is my last few days, who is it that I need to call? These are my family members. These are who will have my things in order. These are who I can entrust the rest of my life to, that will continue on. Now, that doesn't mean it has to be my mom, my auntie. It could be my best friend. It could be my mom's best friend that I grew up with. But it's that person who makes me feel secure that I can entrust the rest of my life with.
So what I hear you saying is that family is not just your blood relatives.
Not at all.
Family is also the people who make a commitment to be in a relationship with you.
Yes.
And you're saying that family would be somewhat of a remedy to all of the incarceration and care placements that we see today. Okay. I think that's a strong point. And maybe in a world where we can just go out and bring people into our families, we need to have more of an understanding of what family is.
Right.
Because if your blood relatives are not committed to continuing to be in a relationship with you, then that's a problem, because that means that your own family is not behaving as family.
Which is why in my work, when saying family, there's the textbook version family, which is anyone that's blood related to you. And then there's what we call family. Because with someone in my case, family to us will not be someone that's blood related to them. Family to them would be someone that they maybe have been in care with before, and that's family to them. And that's who they're looking for to have their trust and their obligation and commitment with, because they already know those people who they are biologically attached to, is what they like to say. They call it their biologically attachment. They already severed that trust and everything. But this person here who is like a foster sister or however their relationship is, that's who they have trust in, and that's where they consider their family.
How can we learn more? How can we learn more about being family to one another? For those people out there who might feel like, well, I don't know what you guys are talking about. This is a new thing that other people could be your family, and what is it that I'm doing wrong? Can you talk to us about how to be family? Do you know anything about that? How can we be family to each other?
Well, definitely communication. So I think what I can do is talk about my family and what we or see and do. So for my family, communication. If I like or do thing, or you see something, let me know. Let me know what you're expecting from me. And I let you know if I can meet you there or not. Because I think a lot of the times people are expecting things from people and they're not knowing that it's expecting from them. So if you let me know what's expected, like, listen, I have cousins that we talk every day. Shout out to my cousins. And then I have cousins where we only talk on the holidays, but that's okay because I know what the expectations of them were. We only talk on holidays. You're not an everyday on the phone person. That's okay. I won't get mad now. I won't say, oh, you only call me when it's Christmas time. No, because I know that's the cousin that I only talk to on holiday times. And I love them because that's what they can do. I can count on that phone call.
You know, I think that we should definitely take this into deep consideration. I think this should be a caveat in our minds and something for us to consider even after this conversation is over. Are we actually being family in the first place? And what family means to me is getting in each other's business. Like if you and I are family, what I think in my small world, in my short time on earth, family to me means I'm getting in your business. I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call you instead of sending a text message. I'll send you a text message too. If you don't respond, I'm coming over to your house. Right? I want to see what's going on in your house. I want to know if it's something that I can help out with. I want to have a conversation with you. I want to know where your kids are.
Right.
You know?
And so I get that, but remember I told you my family's big, so I had to learn that because I was like that. I was, oh, it's COVID time. I'm going to call you every day because I'm going to make sure I hear from you. I'm going to everything. But then I realized that's not what they need. For some of my cousins, that caused them anxiety, or for some people, they needed the space. So I'm like, okay, well, me and my cousins are still cool. We're family, but I learned how to be their family the way they need me to also. So we're both meeting each other's needs. Because yes, she knows now, let me check in with Dominique because I know she tends to worry about us. So this way she don't got to call me or send the cops to do a well check because I will do that if I have to come check for you. So we learned how to meet each other's expectations without and respecting each other's boundaries. So this way my cousin doesn't feel like I'm overstepping on her, nor do I feel like she's neglecting me.
You know, family is like a daily investment in one another. And when we have these big families, a lot of us have big families. We have to raise awareness about the fact that if you have a big family, that means you have a lot of work to do. You know, you have cousins, you got siblings, you got aunts, uncles. Everybody should be checking on one another and interweaving the family quilt. That's what families should be doing. And you know, I'm not talking about your life specifically. I'm talking about in general.
Right.
We have to make that investment into one another. The phone calls, the face-to-face interactions. You know, actually, you know, I was having a conversation recently about a family trust. You know,
right.
An emotional investment as well as a financial investment to make sure that your family could carry on. Do we have a family trust? Are we encouraging the family trust in other families?
Right.
A lot of time families are struggling because they don't have a financial strategy. And if you don't have a financial strategy, then now you might not have cohesion. You don't have cohesion, so now you don't have community power, and now you don't have community power, so now you don't have political power. So we have to begin to look at family as a different thing than just I was born and you was born and we got the same last name. It's not that simple.
Nope. Especially, I say, for minorities, we have to look out for family as for each other instead of let's keep it in the family. Like the saying, let's keep it in the family. If my cousin is doing this business, then why not let us all be part of it? Let us all have a hand in something that we can. So this way, as a family, this can carry on the family name. Hey, if anything ever happens, there's a that security there. Or even so, let everyone in the, like for my family, we all know our place. So let's say like I'm good with the older generation of our family. I can talk to them. I can check in with them. I'm closer to a lot of them. So, you know, I can do things where my other cousins who are uncles who are maybe further away, they can't. But they'll check in with me to see how they're to know that because they know I check in with them. And they're like, hey, is there anything that needs to be done for them? I know we can't go do it directly, but is there anything we can do to help you? So just having a role in the family to take care of each other. I think a lot of the time, everyone's for self.
Right. You know, it starts with figuring out how to make money. Somebody's got to figure out how to make money. And I mean from an entrepreneurial standpoint. Somebody's got to be selling something.
Of course.
And what I'm very inspired by is when I'm either in a Caribbean restaurant, in an African American restaurant, you name it, or chicken wing spot, and it's a family owned business, and you look around, and the uncle's on the grill.
It's funny you say that because that's legit my family. They had a restaurant and my uncle was on the grill and grandma was behind the counter and auntie was baking and we're sweeping the shop. So
Exactly. Now that is the way that you started. The whole family's in there. I go in some of those places and I spend $50 in there because I'm so happy that I'm supporting the family.
Yes.
And for me, it's not just about a black family. It's always family. About a family. Like I said, because the dots that we're connecting today are the dots of cohesion, so that family could behave like family again. Somebody's got to figure out how to make some money from an entrepreneurial standpoint. Other members of the family should help them out. wrap around them and become supporters of it so that they can make money as well.
Right.
Now that you're making money, now you can create the family trust. Once you create the family trust, you can start planning for the future of your family. There can then be a provision for if somebody loses their parents and they need to go into foster care. These are some things that we need to think about. I've really thoroughly enjoyed this conversation with you from the very beginning.
Yes.
From the very beginning. Your daughter said, "Hey, Mom, I want to dress you up like this," and you affirmed that. You said, I appreciate your creativity, and I'm going to show the world that I respect the thoughts of my child.
Yep.
Now I got a few questions for you as we round third base here. But before we even get to that, what is the actual organization that you work with today? Do you work for an organization, or are you creating?
I work for the Children's Village Wendy's Wonderful Kids Foundation.
Nice. Okay, so you're literally doing exactly what we were just talking about. You're putting families together.
Yes, legitly what you said is what I'm doing.
Wow. You know, let's take a moment of silence for the power of the work that you're doing.
Yes.
If we listen to what's happening in our communities, you will hear the young people expressing anguish. You will see the pain in the eyes of the young adults with no parents. And you'll see the pure dysfunction of adults who never had a family. Dominique Russell is standing in that gap, and she's pulling people, and she's saying, "I'm going to help make your life whole by getting you a family." This woman is literally solving a number one problem in our world. Now, Dominique, what is survival to you?
So survival to me is strength, because survival means that you are still going on after, whether it be a trauma or some experience. And the fact that you're still going on means that there's strength because you still want to go on. So whenever I think of survival, I think of strength.
Where do we draw strength from?
I think we draw strength from everything, from who we are, from our experience, from our determination. I think our strength comes from ourselves.
What is success to you?
So I have a funny thing, because I have this saying that I tell me and my daughter, I say to her all the time about success. Success, I say to her, success looks like, or success is measured to what you give it. So success looks like what you want it to look like. And I say that because at one point, for me, success was having a big house, the picket fence, the big time car, and being like the executive of a firm or something. But then I realized that's not really that's not my success. That's success in everyone else's eyes, or everyone's eyes that they were telling me. For me, my success is something as simple as seeing the next day at a time like we are in now, and being able to have all my family members still healthy. It's able to still have a job and be tied to my friends and still have, I'm still going. Success for me could be something as small as completing a project that I have. I give it small goals when it comes to success.
You know, when you break down success to appreciation for life, I think that you said so much by saying so little. Appreciation for life is the type of humility, it's the type of meekness, and it's the type of faith that everybody tells us that we need to have. Appreciation for life will take you a lot further than, you chasing after materialistic things. When you appreciate life, you activate the laws of what the universe has for you. What is greatness to you? What is greatness to you?
Greatness to me is being your true self. I think when you are able to be your true self, you are able to complete greatness, because when you are yourself, you're not worried about what this person's thinking of me, what are they gonna think of me. You're thinking of what's at the goal. So you're gonna put your best self forward. So greatness is when you can be true to yourself.
Without a doubt. I've really enjoyed this conversation today. Thank you for coming here today, sharing your story, sharing your journey.
Thank you for having me.
Without a doubt, and sharing your work. I've listened to you, and I want to give you a crown today. Ladies and gentlemen, get your crown emojis into the building. We're giving you your crown today while you're still living. We're also giving you your respect while you're still here to acknowledge it. And I mean this sincerely. The work that you're doing is changing our world as we speak. We need more people like you. We appreciate you, and let you be encouraged to continue doing the phenomenal things that you're doing. Dominique Russell.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you having this platform for people like me to come out here and just express how we feel, what's happening, and just to show us all these other people.
Absolutely.
You definitely.
This is what we do here. Okay. Dominique Russell, we're letting the world know, and we're letting you know that you, Dominique Russell, are America's next motivator.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
It's my little motivator dance.
Yeah. Thanks for stopping by today, all right?
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. I saw y'all in the building today. Next time my face looks like a light bulb, let me know. Each and every episode of America's Next Motivator is going to have something here for you. All you got to do is stop by and pick it up.